Welcome back to another video. My name's Carl Gosling and today we're going to have a look at these Reckhorn tactile transducers or bass shakers. So first of all, I think a quick explanation as to why you might want a bass shaker or a tactile transducer and what they do. I want to keep it quick because people get bored easily. A tactile transducer or a bass shaker adds rumbling effects, a bit like a rumble motor in a control pad for a games console. It adds that to your sim rig, literally location dependent, under the seat, under the pedal deck, one on each corner if you will, sometimes one under the wheel base, steering wheel base as well, if your steering wheel base doesn't have a rumble motor built in. So that's where you put them, that's what they do, and the feedback they give you is usually feedback based on lumps and bumps in the road. Perhaps if you have a hard crash, an impact, then all of them will give a big thud. If you have 4 on each of your individual wheels, so to speak, one on each corner, then they can represent what each wheel is feeling, lumps and bumps wise, undulations and changes in terrain on the track, all independently of one another, which is probably, I think in an ideal world, you'd like one for each wheel, plus a couple, one under the seat, one under the wheel deck, so that you've got your individual feedback from your wheels, and then when perhaps you do something like a big jump in dirt rally and the vehicle lands down hard, you could have all 6 give you a big thud. Now, I've only got 2, and they are these Reckhorn ones. They are a German brand, and the link's in the description. On Amazon, I think I've got Amazon links, and definitely eBay. They do come from Germany, so there might be a few days, for postage, if you like. But these are the ones I've opted to stick with. I've also played with some cheaper ones. These are about 50, 60 quid, something like that. And when it comes to transducers, tactile transducers or bass shakers, they really scale up in performance based on price and size and weight. Now you're going to get the odd guy that's trying to rip you off on eBay by selling a what should be a £5 transducer for 50 quid. You're always going to stumble across that. But rule of thumb, if you're looking at these tactile transducers, the more you pay, the better they will perform. And there's a ceiling really. I think that you don't need to go above when it comes to these, because in real life you don't feel that much through the car, as in the effects aren't that strong unless you are doing a big jump in, perhaps a rally stage or something like that. Then you might want a real beefy one. You'll all be familiar with the butt kickers, obviously. They're pretty hefty when it comes to these sort of things. And then you can go down as cheap as 5 quid for ones off of eBay and Amazon, which to be honest, they're crap and there's just no point. Now, these I think are the best bang for buck out of the ones I've tested and played with. They perform well enough. They give you really solid vibrations and thumps when you need them, and they're not too expensive. Now, performance-wise, as in actual specifications, I believe they're rated to 100 watts RMS and a peak of 200. So what that means is it can run 100 watts RMS all the time, continuously, and then it can peak, spike. So maybe when you do those big jumps in a rally stage, it can take another 100 watts briefly. If you ran it at 200 watts the whole time, you just burn the voice coil out. I say voice coil because essentially it's just a speaker with the cone missing and a weight sometimes added to give a little bit more inertia and a bit more power to the vibrations. Because all these do is they vibrate sound frequencies. So like a low rumble might be 30-40 hertz, a high frequency sound might be 80 to 100 hertz. Now that isn't high frequency in sound terms, it's high frequency for a bass shaker. High frequency in sound terms would be 20 kilohertz. You don't feel 20 kilohertz, it's way too high. This is all low end stuff. But this is the sort of range they operate from. It doesn't actually say the upper limit on the box for what frequencies it supports, but I think the highest I run in any of my effects in the sims I've got set up is probably just under 100, because much above that is almost more like a buzz than a vibration, you might say. Not audible, but it's hard to describe. But anyway, that's where I run mine. So price for performance, somewhere in the middle with these. If you want to get I've forgotten what I just said they were called. A butt kicker. If you want to get a butt kicker, they're quite a lot more money, and yes, they perform quite a lot better. Now, you know, they're visibly bigger as well. They've got a big heatsink on them, and they're noticeably larger. I mean, you can see this is the box next to my head. It's not a massive box, and the actual dimensions, should you want them, are 153mm diameter by 39mm high, and they weigh 1.2 kilos, so they're quite weighty for a small item, and that's a good sign. As I said, the way to gauge whether you're buying a decent one or not, if you don't want to do any proper research, is it big and heavy, and does it cost a lot of money? If it's both of those, it's really going to rumble. You know, as I say, unless someone's trying to rob you. The bigger they are, the better they are. Now, I mean, you could put a tiny transducer in a big box, but as a rule, the only people selling empty boxes is your undertaker. So as long as you're not buying coffins, you're going to be all right, unless you want a coffin. So yeah, the bigger they are, the better they're going to perform, and the more expensive they are, the better they're going to perform, as I say, with the exclusions of eBay knobheads trying to rob you by putting small ones in big boxes or big price tags on what should be cheap. Now, this isn't going to be an installation video because I've already installed them. I bought these a while back, so I've been rolling with them for a little while. I just thought I'd do a review because I haven't done one and let people know that they are worth buying for the price point. I've got mine mounted, one under my seat and one under my pedal deck. So I'm going to put a picture up of both of these now. Let's have a quick goosey. I'll add these in afterwards, but I'm going to look at them and talk about them on my screen. So in this picture, you can see I've mounted a large metal plate on the underside of the seat, and I've bolted this to that large metal plate. These do come with dampers as well, so I'll just show you those. They come with 4 dampers in the box, which are just little rubber blocks. Now, I haven't used those because my chain of thought is if you're putting rubber blocks on, that's going to soak up some of the vibration. If you want to get the most performance out of these, why would you want to have some of the vibration soaked up by those? So, don't know why they're there. Maybe some people find them too much, but they're there should you need them. So in this picture, you can see I've just got it bolted to a big piece of metal on the underside of the seat. It's bolted front and back to the seat, and there's 3 bolts holding the transducer in place. That's the one. That's my GT Omega RS6 seat that we're looking at there. The next picture I'll show you is this one, and this is the underside of my pedal deck. Again, the pedal deck is metal here, so no need to add a big metal plate. I've literally just bolted it, drilled 3 holes, bolted it straight through the pedal deck, and that really works well because on your seat you're sitting on cushioning, on foam in the seat. It dampens the effects a little bit. With this one, I have to have the volume or power level for it turned down quite a bit compared to the one under my seat because there's nothing dampening this at all, and it will literally shake your pedals, and then you'll find your pedals this isn't a plant channel, your pedals will start to rattle, and you don't really want that because it would be audible. So you tweak this all around. I use Sim Commander or Sim Vibe software to run all these, and maybe I'll do a video on setting that up at some point. That's not what we're here for today. I just want to let people know whether these are worth buying or not, because butt kickers are bloody expensive, and in my opinion put out or are capable of putting out more than you need. So with these 2 installed, one under the pedal deck, one under the seat, as you've seen in my pictures, I configure the software, obviously not to run for individual wheels because we're not on that type of setup. I configure it to run in this setup. So I get all my lumps and bumps come through both of them. Some people like to have a gear shift, a thud when you change gear. I find that's quite nice for paddle shift setups because you would get that in real life. With my H-pattern shifter, which when I play dirt rally is how I like to drive, I don't have the thud on for that because the shifter gives a reasonable thud anyway, and it just feels a bit weird to me. But I do like it, like in F1, for example, when you're going through the paddles, it feels great, it feels really good. And F1 again, you go over the rumble strips, the curbs, both of these really, really well through the whole rig, and it really adds to the whole experience. So yeah, those are the sort of things you get through these. You can have gear change, you can have your rumble strips. You know, if you go off track onto the grass, it's going to be really bumpy. In dirt rally, they're going mental because obviously you're bouncing around all over the place, and it really does add to the whole experience. You can have engine vibrations, engine RPM, and in the software I use, the way that works, at idle, you're sitting there and you can feel this lovely little tick over vibration through the whole rig, and it feels really good. And then as you accelerate through the revs, it fades away, because if you have too many of these effects on at once, it muddies it all up, and the experience isn't as good as it could be. So if you have engine RPM on the whole time, 100%, so you get lovely vibration at idle, but then when you rev it up, you're getting that high frequency buzz I mentioned earlier, and it overshadows and interferes with the other effects that you're getting from your lumps and bumps as you drive. So I like to have that fade out as the revs rise. So when I'm off and I'm racing, you're up in the revs the whole time, of course you are. That's gone, and I'm just getting my feedback from what the car's doing, you know, lumps and bumps wise. So that's where I have mine installed. That's what comes in the box. As I say, these are Reckhorn BS200i's. Sometimes they're just called BS200s. I think they might be an earlier model. I can't remember now because it was a while I looked at them. But there's links to them in the description. They are a German brand. They do work really well. And I definitely recommend having some if you haven't. You run these off of a normal audio amplifier, just in case, again, for those of you not familiar with the way these work. So they're not self-powered or anything like that. You'll need at least a 2-channel amplifier, so you could run one on the left channel, one on the right channel, and then you would plug a 3.5mm to RCA cable from your sound card in your PC. You choose an output, a spare output, of course, not one you're already using, maybe your rear channels or your side channels, probably not using those for a lot of us. And that would then go into your 2-channel amplifier, left and right, and then in the software you would configure left channel to be the front one under the pedal deck, right channel to be the rear one under the seat, or you know, something along those lines. That's how it works. So it's a great addition and really adds to the whole experience, in my opinion. They are definitely worth adding. These are bolted to my GT Omega Arc cockpit. You can fit them to any rig you like. You do need to be handy with the tools because you're going to have to drill some holes. Rigs don't come pre-configured to have these things bolted to them. So you are going to have to be handy with at least a drill and know a little bit about how to plug, you know, at least positive and negative wires, you know, into these transducers or speakers almost. You know, and know how to use your sound card and configure the software. But we're all sim racers, and sim racing is complicated, so I'm sure you can all manage to achieve that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this review. I don't really know what else to say about it. I think I've covered everything. If you have any questions, by all means ask in the comments below, because these videos are all unscripted, so there's a chance I've missed something off that perhaps I wanted to tell you that I just haven't remembered whilst I'm waffling along. But as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for everyone's support, donations, and you know, choosing to buy these through the affiliate links just gives me a tiny bit of commission. Because as yet, I'm still unmonetized on YouTube. Everything's going a bit slow with what's going on in the world, so there's no income yet. So every little bit does help, and I appreciate everyone's support for that. I'll see you guys all in the next one, and as always, take it easy.